Okay, so now I just talked about how you actually go about, writing, getting, sort of getting it done. How do you tackle writing, a year's worth of email autoresponders? And the reality is you do it one day at a time. One thing you might want to do, this is something I do, I learned this from various people, but Evan Pagan was the one that drove it in for me the most, and he has these things he calls his 50 10s. And the reality is when you're writing, you're basically creating. This goes whether you're creating video, whether you're writing copy, but you're creating, and we all have a limited ability to create. We can't, no matter who you are, you could be the greatest writer in the world, and I've studied the greatest writers in the world and some of the most prolific and the most popular, successful writers. Those folks, they don't write like 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day. Most of them are writing maybe 2 hours a day. The ones that are real lunatics, they might be writing like 3 or 4 hours a day, but that's it. You can't be creative for 12 hours a day or 8 hours a day. It just doesn't happen. That's the beautiful thing about this business is if we get paid to create. That's my business is internet alchemy. And that's what we do is alchemy. We take something, we create something from nothing. That's what our business is we have got the ether. There is electrons, and we are typing into our computer and putting words on a page and turning that into money. We're creating it from nothing. It's not even like, we're building a house where we take lumber and now we're starting with nothing except for a thought in our head and we're turning it into money. And that's what gets me excited. I just think it's like magic, and it just gets me juiced. But anyways, we're in this in a creative business, and when you're in a creative business, you can only be so creative. And so what we do, I do these things called 50. Actually, I forget exactly what I've been called, to tell you the truth. But basically, the idea is you create for 50 minutes, then you take 10 minutes off, and then you go and you do another 50. 50-50-10, I think is what he calls it. And so what you do is you go get yourself a cheap kitchen timer. I mean, you can get one at Walmart for like $3. And you get a timer, here's your timer, and you set that thing for 50 minutes, and you hit the start button, and you start creating. You start writing. You don't have a browser window open. You don't have an email open. In fact, the best thing to do is turn off the internet. I know that's like blasphemy, but turn off the internet, turn off music, close the door, make sure no one can interrupt you, and go for 50 minutes. You sit down with if you're going to create an email for your list, you set your timer, you write for 50 minutes. Sometimes if it's a short thing, you might line up 2 or 3 things in a row and do those things and do nothing else. This is the rule you have. For 50 minutes, you focus on nothing but this task. And it's a creative task. It's a money task. It's a task that will make you money. Then at the end of 50 minutes, you take 10 minutes off. You set the timer again. Okay? You set the timer and you do something like, jumping jacks, or you could listen to some music, or you can lay down and meditate, or you could do some push-ups, or you can go have a cup of tea. And then you come back and you do another 50-minute session. Okay? And I'll tell you what, if you do that, you're done for the day. In 2 50-minute sessions, you will have created more than just about anyone else out there. In fact, I consider it, if I sit down and do one of these, and I'm telling you how to do these, and I do them, and they work, and they're super, super effective. But even so, I'll have days where, I don't do this. Lots of days where I don't do this. And all days where I intend to do it, but I still don't do it. I mean, no one's perfect, and I'm not perfect. But the reality is, and these are what I call focus days. This is focus days. This is something I learned from a mentor of mine by the name of Dan Sullivan. Dan Sullivan teaches about focus days. And really, I'm only looking for, 2 focus days a week. Really, it's sort of sad. Maybe three focus days in a week would be huge. And a focus day, I think most people, they go for they try to have 4 hours of focus. For me, if I can do 2 of these 50-minute sessions, that's a focus day. Sometimes I'll go really insane, and I'll go for a third one. okay? Number 3. But usually I'm doing 2 of these sessions. But the thing is we are so distracted these days with email, with surfing, with just everything. We're so, text messages coming in, phone calls. When you're doing one of these, you turn off your phone, you put it in a different room, you close your door, no one can ever, you can do nothing. Just make that contract with you. These 50 minutes, I do this, nothing else. And if you could do that 2 or 3 times in a day, 2 times in a day, you'll have a great day. You'll be incredibly productive. And it's sad to say, but like if I'm doing 3 focus days a week, and I'm only doing 2 50-minute sessions, that's like less than 6 hours a week I actually work. But you're so effective in those sessions that you end up really creating a lot of stuff. And that's how leveraged my time is. And I think your time will be just as leveraged when you get into this creative stuff. So one of the things you do when you're at one of these focus days, you're going to do this when you first get out of bed. Like just get out of bed, go sit down at your desk, turn off everything, and get this in. And you might even be done for the day with one of them, and you're going to have such a great day. It's a fantastic way to start your day, and this is how you create. Okay, so believe it or not, that was one huge sidebar. I didn't even mean to talk about that at all. But let's get back to that timeline, okay? We're going to go to this timeline. So if you're going to have all these messages, what are you actually going to write if you were going to do a year's worth of messages? If you're going to do, let's just say we're going to do 50 messages, okay? And do a half a year, whatever. For 50 messages, what can you possibly write for 50 messages? So this is something I want you to remember. And this is actually another thing I learned from Evan. The guy's a pretty smart guy. You have these quadrants. So you have why, what, how, and what if. And what you want to do, this is the sequence that you move through people when you're teaching something, is you start with the why, and you tell people why they need to learn something, why they need to do something, why they have to take some action. Then you go to the what. Now you're telling them what it is they need to do. And then you tell them how to do it. And then you illustrate how they can take that out into the world and do it for themselves. So for instance, we're talking about email, right? So first I tell you why you need a list. If you go back to the beginning of the course, I started telling you about how it's changed my life and how I can make money on demand, how I have a printing press, how I can just, I needed to buy a house, and so I just put together a promotion and sent some emails. So that's the why, okay? Why you need to do it, because it's the easiest, quickest way to make a ton of money. It's the best asset you can have in your online business. I give you all the whys. Okay, then I started to talk about the what's. And the what's is like, what is it, what's a list, what's a squeeze page, sort of defining the types of lists. I talked about all the different types of lists. That's the what. Then we went into the how. I'm teaching you the how now. How to write out a sequence, how to actually write your copy, how to blend a sequence. And then we get into the what if. This is what you do. And actually, I even started a little of that when I was in the last session where I was talking about 6 and 7 and what that meant to my long-term business to start building that list right away. So this is a really good sequence. This is a good sequence to think about when you're writing your emails. Especially, this is a big one, you always want to start with the why. So with your welcome message, you want to say, hi, thanks for joining us. Not that stilted, but in a very conversational tone. Hi, thanks for joining us. This is what we're going to give you. This is what we're going to teach you. This is what we're going to show you. This is why you should be subscribed. And then you should probably have some more why copy in here. So your first few messages are more why. So we're going to take why into here. And then in here, you're probably going to shift more into the what in here. Okay? And then as you get deeper into your sequence, then you start doing the how. And you might even eventually get to the what if. Okay, so that's just an overall framework, sort of a philosophical, not really philosophical, but a big picture framework. But make sure you hit that why early. And you got to hit that repeatedly in here. And you got to keep on going back to the why. And different people, some people are more why oriented, some people are more what oriented, some people are more how oriented, and some people are more what if. These folks are like the real entrepreneurs. These folks tend to be the real engineers. These people tend to be more like salespeople. These people tend to be more like academics. They just like soak in information. I am solidly a what person. But everyone has to go, you have to do this for everyone. This is the largest number of people are in the why category. So it's really important you hit that why category. Okay, so that's an overall framework for how to structure really any message. Any message you're given, whether it's a video, whether it's a sales letter, anywhere, that's a good sequence to follow. Now, let's get back to here. So here, you're giving them the why, you're telling them a little bit about yourself. You're being personal, some self-revelation. It's often very important to tell them why that you're publishing. Why should they listen to you? Why are you taking this time to publish? Now, remember we had the avatar, okay? In the avatar, we identified hopes and dreams, fears and frustrations. You should also, in there, identify what their objections could be. And really, fears and frustrations, those are generally objections. Whether you're selling something or not selling something, you're selling yourself in the relationship. You're selling, even if like in 6 and 7, there's nothing for sale in those 10 messages or 11, whatever. There's nothing for sale there, but I'm selling myself. I'm selling that they should care about me, they should care about the relationship with me, and they should open my emails, and they should listen to me, they should pay attention to me. That's what I'm selling, okay? So you're always in some type of sales mode, whether you're overtly selling something or not. No matter what you're doing, you're always in a sales mode, okay? Whether you're overtly selling something, trying to make a sale, sell a click, or if you're just building a relationship. But it comes back to understanding that avatar, those hopes, fears, frustrations, dreams. And so what you want to do here is after you go through this initial introduction, and you're going through your why, maybe a little bit of what, let them get to know you a bit. But then once you get into here, let's go red, get real crazy with red here. What I do is I'll just answer objection number 1. And there's about 2 to 4 major objections. So I'll hit objection number 1, and I'll write an email about that. And then I'll hit objection number 2. And then I'll hit dream number 1, and then I'll hit dream number 2. And then I come back here, and basically then I'll hit replay. I'll come back to the next message, and maybe I'll hit objection number 2. I'll mix up the sequence. So it's not identical each time, but I have 3, 4, 5 major themes, and I just hit them, hit them, hit them. And so, if you've got 50 messages, and you've got 5 major themes, and those are the dreams, and the aspirations, and the fears and the frustrations, and you've got 5 of them, over 50 messages, you're just going to hit each one 10 times in a slightly different fashion, just over and over and over. And, they can be, if your 50th message is somewhat repetitive compared to this message, it just doesn't matter. Because first of all, they're not going to read every one of your messages in general. And even if they are, 2 months from now, they're not going to remember what this said. So that's the way you do it. You just, sort of you have a cheat sheet. And the cheat sheet is, this is my avatar. You've written up what your avatar is. You've written up their frustrations, and their hopes and their dreams. You've written up their objections. And then you just go pluck them. Say, okay, this time I'm going to do the, I don't have enough time to practice guitar objection. So you come up with an anecdote or a story about that. And it's that simple. Use that 50-50-10 deal, and sit down and write. You know, putting together one of these sequences means every fourth day you're going to write something. You're going to write an email that's anywhere from 200 to 600 words long. It's not hard to do, and you just keep on going through and hitting those. Just go through your sequence, and that's all there is to it.